catching up momentum every single second here because it's only getting better to the best. And up next, it's something even more special. Welcome to Amazon Internet Services presents to you Economic Times Global Digital League 2.0 powered by Kindred. Now, very interesting. Why? Because you will know what are we talking about. While work from home or X has been a successful stopgap for GCCs to continue service delivery, let's look at the practical challenges of work from X from the following lenses. Now, first one, of course, legal and compliance. The second one, about cybersecurity. The third, data privacy and protection concerns for GCCs in India, and for compensation and benefits. Now, there must be a fifth point as well in terms of how long does one work at home, from home. All right, joining us in conversation first, let's welcome the speakers. Please welcome Director, Global Business Services, Transformation and Transition Lead, Discovery Inc., Mr. Amit Gupta. Joining him is Global Head, CTSX, Novartis Business Services Innovation, Naveen, Gullapalli from Hyderabad, Head of Technology, Global Hub India, NatWest Group, Neeraj, Goyal, Head Global Financial Services India, AISPL, Ritesh, Kotian, and of course the moderator, Partner and Leader People and Organization, PwC India, is Chaitali Mukherjee. And this one is an absolute session of the day. Over to you, Chaitali.
Thanks, Mitten. Quite an energy you're trying to set. Thanks for that. Absolutely warm welcome, all of us. And this is such an amazing conversation to have. When we start talking about building for the future of work in GICs, I think GICs were meant to build future of almost all organizations globally. And then COVID came and it kind of changed our world. Before we actually get on to some of the themes, and Mitten spoke about legal, he spoke about compliance, he spoke about security, cyber. I'm going to take the liberty of having a slightly different conversation, because all things being equal, after these things are taken care of, there are bigger issues to solve for GICs, which is about making the future happen for most organizations. So we will, of course, touch upon what Mitten has told, but we'll go a little deeper into the culture as well as the skills that GICs are today grappling with to get it right. So let's think a little about why are we talking about building the future of work. Work was always set. GICs have taught process centricity to the world, and India became the capital literally for that. And post-COVID, I think a lot of challenges came up for us. Our way of driving the culture, our way of driving the experience for our employees has been through where we work, what we do, and how we do. When all of that was up in the air, I think Indian GICs are being appreciated globally for the way they have actually managed the entire situation and kept the world's economy going, actually, because this was literally the back end where a lot of stuff was happening. Number one that we need to keep in mind is, while all of this we talk about, the big challenge has been, it's not just process that we do. We also do innovation, we do productivity, and we do a lot of it. And that's where brains come together. When people are working out of homes, how do we enable that? And I'm really looking forward to listening to all of you and having some interesting conversation. Maybe I'll first go to you, Naveen. Running the Innovation Center for the organization. How have these last 16, 18 months been for Novartis? And when you think of aspects of continuity, productivity, security, all of these things are there. But the reality is the world looks at you for innovation. Amidst all the stress and not being able to drive people into the workplaces, how have you all been managing this? How are you all experimenting?
Yeah, Chaitali, thanks. So certainly, I think the last 16 months have been very tough for the whole world, for all of us in terms of the pandemic. But I think the silver lining has been this discovery of how we can actually work through different methods and different ways, right, across the world. It's a silver lining, but it's something that is going to stick, I think, right? So we are in India, about 8,500 people. And one of the largest centers for Novartis worldwide. We are an R&D center, we are a technology center and an innovation center for the company. And we were truly fortunate that we quickly moved into a completely resilient method of working, which was full-time work from home. Our entire organization moved quickly, except where in our labs and manufacturing areas. And the insights have been amazing over the last 16 months. Firstly, it's been more efficient. Clearly, it's more efficient from an environment perspective, from the use of time perspective, but also productivity. We've seen that go up. Second, I think as we are a global organization, digital has taken a dominant role, right? And digital has played an equalizer. So in the past, we had a certain number of colleagues in the office and certain remote. Now everybody's remote. So that kind of culturally, it's very interesting that opened up an inclusive atmosphere actually for us to work. But we are also realizing that some people want to come back now. So what we are now realizing is that there's no one size fits all. As much as we don't like change, I think people like change. People want change. People want variety. Some people, and some people don't want. So we are now thinking, therefore, of moving to an adaptive environment where we want to try some principles for a certain period of time and then allow people to change their mind after that. So we considered all options, including remote contracts, etc. But we are generally thinking in terms of having an adaptive environment, right? So Novartis globally has launched a program called Choice with Responsibility. And that choice of where you want to do your work is with the associate. So in the past, you might recall associates had to apply for leave, like apply for work from home. Now it's the other way around. You do not need to ask for a permission to work from home, but your performance is your responsibility. So this is an interesting concept. We are waiting for the pandemic situation to settle down a bit, and then we will pilot with that method. And I think that will probably get us the best of both worlds in terms of the benefits we've seen, but also the need to maybe get together for a few times. So we are mainly thinking of two models. One is a hybrid, so a few days in the office, and the other one is fully remote. We are not thinking of full-time back to office like the old times.
It's pretty awesome, Naveen, pretty awesome. Choice with responsibility. As kids, we have always known this. The best way for parents to deal with kids not breaking trust is to trust them. And once you trust them, they'll always be scared of breaking it because the value of what you have in hand is always very high. So I think this term choice with responsibility is so powerful. Every time you give that, and if you're able to back it up with the right goals and measurements, I think it's the best thing. Neeraj, let me come to you. There has been a lot of learning for all, and of course, the new normal may have worked differently for different people. And as Naveen rightly said, the moment you get a change, you want it to be changed again. That's human mind. Thank God for it. But at NatWest, what have been some of the critical triggers for taking operating models, structure, productivity decisions? What have been some distinct learnings for the future from an operating model perspective? Because I think today, Neeraj, everybody is trying to get an answer from the past on operating model and trying to understand what are others doing. Somebody has to do it first time. So what are you all doing first?
Yeah, Chaitali, I think Naveen said in the last couple of months have been all months of learning. We've been learning new things. And especially around, I think from a COVID perspectives, I think one of the biggest learning for us is we all figure out that work from home works. Earlier, they were thoughts were, there are a pocket of things that can be done more effectively from home, but there were enough reasons of people saying, oh, this will not work because of XYZ. And come COVID, in 2 days, almost everybody was working from home and effectively. And now is that, no challenge in terms of productivity and everything. So I think that's a myth that is broken, that, you cannot be effective working from home. In fact, if done properly, proper setups, and a couple of other things we talked about, it actually has worked out quite well from GCC perspective, like a couple of things Naveen mentioned. I think things have become very location agnostic now. It doesn't matter, especially for GIC's perspective, which country, which location you are in. You're all in front of Zoom, and that's what matters. So any role can be done from anywhere, right? So you're as close to anybody else. and things like that. So that is one thing. But I think equally, what we have figured out is it's very important to be together. You just can't be all working remotely on Zoom, and that's what we figured out by now. You know, from a mental being perspective, or what we felt. The reason that we were able to so effectively transition ourselves was because we have a strong culture. We had a strong culture. And guess where? How does culture gets built? Gets built in office, when you're next to each other, right? So that is, the case in there. So you need to be back, spending some time, part of your team, collaborating to build that culture, that social thing which is there. So that is one important thing, and that's where to what being referred to. I think what we've learned is there's no answer, one fit answer for everyone, but it's more of a test and learn. And more or less for a bigger number of people, I think a hybrid thing works well, which is kind of flexibility in terms of working from home, but time together as a team to be spending in terms of collaborating, innovating, discussing things together. But then there are certain roles which might be more remote, or there's certain roles which actually have to be full time in office, like somebody doing a desktop support. You have to be in office supporting people. So it's about test and learn, identifying what works for you, and kind of similar lines as making a choice, but making an informative and a reasonably good choice to what works for you, right? And very quickly, the third point I will say is around talent. I think we've all learned that things move very fast. So what is more important is just not about skills and capabilities, but a talent which is understand the importance of learning, continuous learning throughout your life. And what we call is a concept of learn to learn. You need talent which learns how to learn on themselves. They're not depending on others, right? So I like the term learn to learn, which is important. And talent, which is location agnostic. So we are very open to now looking at talent across the country, across the globe, part-time talent, different talent. So I think those are few couple of topmost learnings that I will talk about.
Super, Neeraj. I think it has, of course, opened up the key for talent being agnostic to location, but it has also made the talent demand that much more stifled, because now the best talent cannot be locked in a location. It is everybody's after that. So the haves and the have-nots and the talent will actually become that much more steeper. And maybe for a different conversation, we should just have a conversation on what does the talent agenda mean. But I think great stuff, Naveen and Neeraj, on the opportunities and the learnings. I'll come to you, Amit. Amit, you have been running and have been observing this entire space now for the last 16, 18 months as the global transformation lead. Culture, as we all know, is pretty critical to make anything work. But culture is not consistent even within an organization. There are microcultures by countries and there are microcultures by locations. How have you seen the whole future of work pan out differently in India versus other countries? And what has it meant for us in terms of learning about our culture and practices to take future workplace decisions?
No, Chaitali, beautifully framed. It has been a remarkable journey over the last 16 months, and especially for India, where work from home was a big question mark. Can we really work from home? Can Indians work from home? Uh, and the question was because of certain limitations that we have in India, right, and culturally. I would say the biggest challenge that I have observed, or the biggest differences in the two cultures that I have seen between the Eastern and India and the Western countries are that first is we are not used to work from home. Let me tell you a few. The first thing is that, and suddenly in 2 days everybody has to work from home was a big shift to learn that art. Might be there. It is there in few of the companies, but it's not very common in India. Working from home, people might be working from home for a day or so when they have some personal urgencies or exigencies to meet, but not for normal, right? So this was a big shift in terms of a mindset. What I see between the two cultures. The next was a logistic challenge. Our places are not built up for work from home, and people working from home having limited space, logistics, desktops, table, chairs, as easy as that. And though organization was supporting us to the extent they can, but it was a big challenge for a lot of people, let me tell you. And we have seen, we are still seeing those challenges with people health and other thing, which is so common in Western world, where people are used to, they already have those setups. So this was these were two things that I observed. The second is uh, trusting people. When we say work from home, it's about trusting our people, and we often say that we are very bad when it comes to work from home. We don't trust people who would be working for 8 hours, 10 hours, whatever the requirement is. Whereas it has broken all the myth, and as rightly said by Naveen and Neeraj, the efficiency or the productivity has gone way above than we expected. Let me tell you. So that those were the, and in Western it's so common that people trust each other so oftenly that you don't have to ask for work from home. You are eligible to work from home whenever you need it, and that's working in Discovery. That's a pretty policy that you can work from home whenever you need that. So I saw that it has built the trust, and the trusting of people was one of the cultural shift that happened in India now. And right now you see that most of the organizations are working from home and people are being trusted. Obviously, then it brings the challenge of data privacy and other thing, which our technology has to support us. And then the third thing was managing talent. Uh, uh, some organizations work beautifully in managing their talent, in having talent growth program, development program, and other thing. Whereas in India, it's like it's okay. We have a talent; is a great talent. We will figure out the growth path and other things. So, which was given a huge focus in India now, that if you have to retain talent, especially with people working across cities, across states, rural areas, back to their hometowns. So that has shifted a lot. That he's a good talent for the organization. What flexibility does the people need? Is as simple as that. And how can we retain him? So retention was something which has shifted a big time for us, and in real means just not monetary, but something beyond monetary. So
Got
this
it.
is something I've seen between a shift and a cultural difference between Eastern and Western world. Yeah.
Interesting, Amit. I think you touched upon a very important point over here, which was trust on credit versus trust on debit. The starting point is all that, right? Do I trust my talent and hence design stuff around it, or I don't trust and hence put systems, processes, etc. around it, and assume the talent will turn up? And eventually, what and Naveen said that right at the start, technology has been an equalizer. Technology also became an equalizer because we didn't have an option, but we had to trust, right? So I think technology has played one of the most fundamental roles in enabling or thinking of future of work. So I'm going to come to you, Ritesh, sitting right inside AWS. How has AWS seen the problem definition evolve? Because I personally saw about 4 cycles. So how have you all seen the problem definition evolve? And very keen to know what are the big bets AWS is taking from the perspective of future of work.
Thanks, Chaitali. Thanks for that segue. Firstly, some amazing insights from the panelists. I mean, some great thoughts, and I'm just kind of trying to digest them, and I'm sure we'll do for the day to come, right? And just to come to their question, right? I think we have seen customers go through multiple stages. All said and done, the pandemic has acted like a catalyst for workforce transformation, right? And it has gone through 3 stages, right? So I'd say react. And reacting was kind of when that whole thing happened. How can you quickly have operations which are seamless, they don't go down? How can you build up remote working for the employees and kind of build those customer journeys, and then kind of moving to return, which we are seeing now, and then reimagining, which is the future stage, right? And looking at when the pandemic ended and when that happens, especially. And then in the react stage, we have seen like specific examples, which the folks on the panelists also mentioned. We've seen banks like RBL again a little bit traditional, thinking about and kind of embracing that remote work is seamless and can work very well, and using services like Amazon workspaces to build up VBI and VPN infrastructure. So we've seen a lot of success. It's a public reference, and I don't want to kind of delve deeper into it, but essentially it will be very critical as to how we look at the second part, wherein we are looking at return and reimagine, right? The panelists spoke about how probably hybrid is the next way to do it. Won't be completely virtual, or it won't be completely in office, and we are seeing customers like really reimagining that journey, right? Somebody is thinking that how can I make a 20,000 workforce call center completely remote? Unthinkable earlier, but now very possible, right? And services like Amazon Connect are enabling that. How can I use AI and ML for having chatbots during transcription, translation, and kind of automating a lot of the workflows which have now been kind of happening manually, right? And kind of the catalyst for workforce transformation has also been the catalyst for digitization. So something which would have thought like just taking medical advice from a physician virtually, which was impossible, now has become, everybody's become a preferred mode where they don't want to go to the doctor's office, right? So a lot of things which we are seeing, and it's exciting how this reimagined phase will turn out.
Super, Ritesh. I think lovely. I think all of you have given some very interesting perspectives. I'm going to very quickly summarize to stand up and say the world has changed dramatically, and the role of GICs as being architects of the future of our respective organizations has become that much more pronounced. And amidst that, there are two ways of thinking about it. How do we enable people, and how do we get technology to enable people? I think the coexistence of talent and technology is something that has got established in an unmeasurable way in these last 18 months. And I'm hoping that all our participants actually who are listening to this conversation today, our audience, they realize that it is now no more going to be about technology or people. It's going to be the paradox or the simultaneity of technology and people, and how do we make it happen? Thank you so much, all of you, and over to you, Mithun.
Thank you, Chaitali. Indeed, that was very interesting. Thank you, Amit. Thank you, Naveen. Thank you, Neeraj. Of course, Ritesh, thank you so much. I wish you all a great evening ahead. Well, indeed, so much to learn from that session. But hold on, there's got much more coming your way in a short time. But for now, let's have a quick break, and I'll see you after the break.